Transitioning from LMS to LXP, this one is for you. Hey everyone, I'm Rob from Octili, and today I'm excited to bring you 5 questions and 5 answers with Henrik Karlsson, Senior Manager, People Technologies and Service Delivery at Electrolux in Stockholm, Sweden. First off, thank you, Henrik, for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Henrik is a man of many talents with a refreshingly non-linear journey from leading creative tech teams in the film industry from London to Vancouver to now driving HR innovation and digital learning at global scale. With deep experience across IT, agile delivery and employee experience, he's helping Electrolux reimagine how learning happens across 41,000 employees worldwide. And to many, he's already a familiar face as he's not shy about sharing those insights on stage at Cornerstone events either. This interview will be especially relevant for anyone currently transitioning from a traditional LMS, a learning management system, to an LXP, a learning experience platform. Electrolux has taken a thoughtful, strategic approach to this shift, and there's so much others can learn from your experience. Henrik, could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your role at Electrolux?
Absolutely. So as you already said, my name is Henrik Karlsson. I am based in Stockholm. I worked at the Electrolux headquarters. I've been here 3 years. I've worked as Senior Manager in People Technologies. So my scope is basically talent management, service delivery, as you mentioned. So Cornerstone is one of the platforms, EdCast, that we just acquired and implemented, and then also Phenomenon, a couple other platforms as well. And I think I don't probably need to expand more than that. But like I said, I definitely like talking about what we do, and I'm happy to show and share. So if anyone actually sees this and are interested, feel free to reach out and talk to us as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I also saw the feedback you got from the Cornerstone events that many people approached you with questions. So I hope it was still a good thing for you to do and go on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. The benefit is if someone comes and asks me questions, then I can ask them questions as well.
I
think it's good. It's really good. It's like a mutual bond, essentially. So it's great.
Yeah, perfect. Let's get to the first question. Electrolux has been an Octili client since the very early days. And from your perspective, what has been the key to success of our long-term partnership? And how has that relationship then supported your overall digital HR journey?
Yeah, for me, it's easy. I can name it in one word. Essentially, I think that's trust. And when we know and we send the problem your way, you'll solve it, regardless of the issue and the nature of the issue, essentially. Like we trust that you are technically capable to solve whatever comes your way. We also trust that you think outside of the box. You will come up with some really interesting solutions. You'll come back to us. And on top of that, and this should not be underestimated, when it comes to time management, like we truly trust you, which means we don't need to micromanage you, right? And that is something that we have to do with many other vendors. Like we're required to have a written statement of work, even for tiny changes, right? Sometimes, because otherwise you're not spending 20 hours or something where you're expected to spend 5. And that, I don't feel like I have that with you at all. And that mutual trust is incredibly important. And that allows us to let you be a bit more free, I think, than maybe we would with someone else. And that allows you to create more interesting things, I think, for us and be a bit more on top of it as well. So yeah, that's the key thing for me.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I'm really pleased to hear that. And for us, I also want to give this back. It's like this calm and patience also when you have really challenging problems, that we are in this together and try to solve it, and that there is no blaming or something like this. We really look at, okay, what needs to be done, who can help on what, and then, just get to it. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's actually relevant as well, because we've had a lot of issues with the EdCast implementation, not due to you guys, just some platform limitations that we've overcome. I want to stress that we've overcome them, but it took a lot of creative thinking, right? And combined creative thinking.
Absolutely. So yeah, as I said before, I'm a big fan of your team's smart approach and have mentioned it also to many other Cornerstone clients. You always try to get the most out of Cornerstone products, what they offer out of the box, and only then you look at customization to close any remaining gaps. And of course, improve the usability and the look of it. Why is that approach important to you, and what has it enabled Electrolux to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to always stay up to date with the latest and greatest the Cornerstone offers. They offer the functionality of the platform. That is not what you offer. Like you have to offer more on the UX layer and the customizations, but we need to get the latest functionality. For instance, we've implemented EdCast, obviously a full new platform, but it's new functionality. We're also evaluating new platform functionality in EdCast, so in this case, Talent Marketplace. And we always strive to push the platform as far as we possibly can. And that's to get the functionality that we need, of course. Like, we're not going to take anything if we don't actually need it, but we push that as hard as we can. However, the customization still play a key role, right? So this is how we can tailor our look and feel for the platform to suit our needs. It allows us to be more, engaging and more consistent in the user experience. And that's across platforms, right? Not just within a specific platform, selling our employer branding, essentially, so to speak, in our user journey. And that is something that, of course, I just can't offer that to every single client. It's not possible, but that's where you guys come in. And that's where you can help us with. You can help us streamline this. And we need both. And we need to push the platform, but we need to have the layer on top as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Cornerstone is a great foundation, but they have to be generic on purpose because it needs to work for so many more clients and every client has different needs. And as you said, our specialty is to get your brand, your design, the journey you have in mind into those platforms and across different platforms.
Yeah.
To make this a seamless journey. Now, moving from Cornerstone LMS or CSX to the EdCast LXP is a big shift. What were your main concerns at the start of the project? And how is working with Octili then helped smooth the process in detail, overcome the limitations you initially faced?
Yeah, this has been a really long journey for us. So it's actually a really difficult question to answer. Not working with you guys, but just because we started with Explore and then we went down the route of the EdCast acquisition and then we jumped on that train pretty early because we've been wanting an LXP for a very long time. This is a need in the business that's driving us to do this implementation. But our main concern when we started looking at the platform and we went into the project is really the disjointed experience. Like, EdCast is a good platform. Like, it will give us what we need. Like, we can have the academies, we can have the skills-based learning. Like, all of that works essentially as intended. But for the employees, it is truly two separate platforms, right? Like, they move into one and then they have to move to the other. And even if we have an SSO and it's like easy to move between the two, they are just very different. So that's where you guys came in and really helped. So like, your team actually proposed a solution for us where we could unify the look and feel of both platforms, through combined header. And this gave a much more seamless experience. And that, I think, helped bridge the gap between these two environments. So that's been a big for us because that was the biggest issue. I think, we had many other technical issues. Okay, don't get me wrong, but like, from a UX perspective, like, that is the biggest issue that we faced with the platform. And I think we solved that in a really good way.
You somewhat used the next question I had for you, but yeah, I remember we talked about how we can solve this gap between those two platforms during the transition. And I think the key and what we tried to achieve was that employees don't even know that this is a transition phase. It's more like, yeah, okay, it looks a little different now, but it's kind of one platform, even though the URL maybe changes when you click on different links, but the experience is just one consistent one.
And I want to expand on that as well. It made our change management a lot easier, right? As well, because all of a sudden, like, we're expanding on an existing platform rather than launching yet another platform, essentially. And that's huge for us because initially we were like, well, how do we market this? We have Talent One, which we call CSX Cornerstone, and then we have a new platform coming out, and that's basically probably called Learn at Home, but that's not really true because, like, eventually EdCast becomes something more than just a learning platform because you have career pathing and all these other pieces. So rather, like, we managed them to build it into one platform, and we just, we did a full redesign, of course, but we can launch it as part of the existing platform, which has a good solid name within Electrolux as well. So there's no need to rebrand and try to do something else. So I think that was a lot easier. It's just a new area that anyone, can go in to explore. It's hard to measure, the success of this, but the internal feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, I'd say, especially from the business. Yeah, there are still issues. Every platform has its issues. So we're seeing some, but it's been really positive. And there's a lot of interest around, especially, the skills portion of the platform, trying to see how we can develop that further, like looking at critical skills. The business is really keen on getting the data, visually on where we are, especially where they are. So there's a lot of interest right now in the platform, and we're going to leverage that and we're going to push further.
Yeah, you mentioned something interesting, and I will convert this into a bonus question because I'm just interested. You talked about change management, or in general, broader term might be communication around the platform. And I remember you also once had a video created for one of the pages we did in Cornerstone. So it was kind of a campaign around that. Can you explain a bit more how you approach communication and change management around those HR platforms in general? What are your go-to ways to communicate?
That is a big question. Okay. So we do have a change management team specifically that works with this. We do have a communication team. It's not the same team. So we separate them. Okay. Right. And we also have employee branding, which is yet another separate team. So we involve all of them. And we look at, of course, the branding is incredibly specialized at Electrolux, at every company, right? But like we have this guideline that we need to follow. So that's where we start when we do the design. We involve change management really early on in the process, and we make sure that we lay out the foundations of like, how do we sell this journey? And it's around a journey as well. Like this is the user journey that we have. And then we just plan on like, what are the different routes that we want to reach our audience, so to speak, or our employees. So we know when we go global, we always have to send an email or multiple emails. Like that's something that we have to do. We have an internal intranet that's being pushed really heavily. It's called eGate. It's a really good platform, and that has a lot of people coming in to read, news. And that's where we want to make sure we publish as well. But one thing that we've done in this case that we haven't done maybe that much before is we've pushed a lot of in-platform communication. So it's something that you guys actually helped us with as well. So we added, I call them disclaimers, but it's really like it's disclaimers in some cases and information in others. So we add banners within the platforms themselves. So this is something we've done in the skills profile, for example, in EdCast, to say, this is what the skills profile would do for you in EdCast, essentially. And that way you capture anyone that comes into the platform. Because an email you read once and then you forget about it. But in the platform, it's in your face all the time, right? And that can be changed easily at any given time. And then we have this on our welcome page as well, where we just basically, welcome to the page. And then we can flag things that we can point towards information as well, external information that can expand. On top of that, then when you get to the EdCast platform, so what we call learning feeds, essentially My Learning. And in there, we have the video that we created, which is on the front page, which you can click and just, get overview of the platform. And then we also have a announcement section, which is default in EdCast, where we have 6 different links to different information as well, like how do you work with skills, and things like this, essentially. This is really simplified, but otherwise we would have to spend a lot of time. But like we have all these different channels, and we work specifically with a team that's specialized in this area. So I'm not going to take any credit on any of this, but they are really good at selling the story, essentially, and the reason and the platform to our employees.
Yeah. Yeah, you summarized it well. It's always a team effort. It needs to have the branding. It needs to have the right storytelling, the right words, the right style of communication, but also how the communication gets across. And it seems you're just using every touch point in the employee journey to peel the onion, like inform them step by step. Here's what you can do here. Go over there to experience this or something like that. So it's really not this one-off campaign, which you just send out by email. It's really this nurturing, I assume.
I agree. Campaigns, we found is very powerful because we track adoption. Obviously, we're still early-ish in our rollout, right? But the campaigns push adoption in chunks, right? And that then you get, because we can see this in the funnel, we send out what we call power skills, and then all of a sudden get a 10% increase in adoption, overnight. And then they're in the platform and they stay in the platform, and that's the goal. This is something I think that we need to do a little bit more, and we will be looking at that more as well, for sure.
Yeah, wonderful. Last question. Many other Cornerstone clients are facing similar platform transitions right now, or will be soon. What advice would you give to those teams? And especially when it comes to preparing for the shift, how to collaborate with vendors or how to select vendors, finding the right partners, and then keeping the employee experience front and center so that your HR processes really reach your audience and you get to those completion numbers for training, for example, or getting people to discover skills and so on. So yeah, what would you recommend?
Yeah. There's a couple of things on top of my mind, right? So first off, you should always stay informed of the vendor's roadmap. I think that's really important. Know what's coming. You always need to evaluate your own needs as well carefully. So I think even though you have the roadmap, you know what the platform can do. Don't limit yourself to what the platform can do. Okay. Out of the box, because, they can do much more, with some small tweaks. I think you should focus on the user journey above all as well. So many employees will come to platform occasionally. Most employees will come to the platform occasionally even. So the experience needs to be simple and intuitive, and it needs to be inviting enough to bring them back to the platform as well. And I think that's where customizations really help. Essentially, this is where you tailor the experience to the majority of our employees, make it simple. And like I've said before, Cornerstone can't tailor this to anyone or everyone. So we can, right? And we can do it with the help of you. That's what we've done. And I think it's been really successful. And, this is our second iteration really of the customized platform. We started this journey many years ago with you, right? And it's never been a choice for us really to go back to the vanilla, out of the box version of Cornerstone really. I also want to add, don't be afraid to ask your vendor what's possible. Don't limit yourself by your own imagination and your own ideas. That's what we did. We had a great conversation with you and your team. Our intention was actually, let's look and see what we can do to change the current platform, maybe simplify it slightly. Out of that discussion we had, because we couldn't customize EdCast at the time, not really for the level that we wanted. It's more feasible now, but like back then it wasn't. But then you kind of came with the idea of, what if we make this into one platform? What if we change Cornerstone to match? That was a great idea, and that's what we've done. So I feel like without having that honest, open conversation, we would not have built what we built, essentially. The basis for the idea came from you, essentially, not from us. So yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love when this kind of magic happens in collaboration, but that when you go into those meetings open-minded and know that you don't know everything, if you always approach it like this, then you can learn so much from each other. And I mentioned this before. I love how we work together because you bring the challenge, we look at it, we think about it, and then together we come up with a great solution which just works. And as you said, just keeping the employee itself in focus. We build those things for them. They need to understand how they work. And that's a key metric. If people don't use it, don't understand it, all our work is for nothing. Appreciate you saying that.
Thank you. Thanks for working hard with us and for us, Rob. And let's keep working together in the future as well. So, thank you.
We're at the end of our interview. Thanks for sharing your time and your insights. It's always a pleasure to work with you and the team. And also to watch Electrolux keep raising the bar on what's possible in people technologies. I think that's really obvious that you are ahead of the pack and in many of those challenges. And to everyone watching, thanks for joining us. We hope this conversation gave you some helpful ideas for your own projects. We love helping our clients make the most of their platforms and the creative campaigns around them. And we're excited to share more stories like this soon. See you next time. And if you're planning your own transition, of course, don't hesitate to reach out.